One of Star Trek's biggest strengths has always been its ability to reinvent itself. Every new series brings a different vision of exploration, different characters, and different ways of asking timeless questions about humanity. But what happens when a show becomes so obsessed with trying something new every single week that it forgets to move its own story forward? That's exactly the strange contradiction at the heart of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, Season 4. Why the show has never been more creative. So why does it feel stuck? On the surface, this might actually be the show's most ambitious season yet. One episode dives into psychological horror, another embraces classic detective noir. Then suddenly you're watching an adventure involving dinosaurs, bizarre alien phenomena, and some of the most visually impressive sequences the franchise has ever attempted. Every week feels unpredictable, and from a purely entertainment standpoint, it's difficult to complain. But underneath all of those creative ideas lies a much bigger question. Are these incredible adventures actually changing the people experiencing them? That's where Season 4 becomes far more complicated than it first appears. After the emotional ending of Season 3, many fans expected Captain Christopher Pike to return, carrying the weight of everything he had just lost. His relationship with Captain Marie Battelle had become one of the emotional foundations of the series, and her tragic fate seemed destined to redefine Pike as both a captain and a man. Instead, something unexpected happens. The story moves forward, but emotionally, many of the characters barely seem to. It's almost as if every new episode presses a reset button before the next adventure begins. That doesn't mean Strange New Worlds suddenly becomes a bad show. Not even close. In many ways, this is still one of the most enjoyable Star Trek series currently being made. The cast remains fantastic, the production values are extraordinary, and the writers continue to prove they can tell wildly imaginative science fiction stories unlike anything else on television. The real frustration comes from knowing just how much greater the series could be. Today we're breaking down exactly why Season 4 feels both like the show's biggest creative success and its biggest missed opportunity. We'll look at the incredible genre experiments, the emotional choices surrounding Pike, the characters who finally receive meaningful development, the surprising relationships that steal the spotlight, and why the show's biggest strength may also be holding it back. Because once you look beneath the spectacular visuals and exciting weekly adventures, you start to notice a pattern that changes the way you see the entire season. And by the end of this review, you might agree that Strange New Worlds isn't suffering from a lack of imagination. It's suffering from something much harder to fix. Why the show has never been more creative. But is it forgetting its characters? One thing is impossible to deny about Strange New Worlds. Season 4. The creative team refuses to play it safe. Most television shows eventually settle into a familiar formula. Audiences know exactly what they're going to get every week. Strange New Worlds does the opposite. Every episode feels like opening a mystery box because you genuinely have no idea what kind of story is waiting inside. One week it's classic Star Trek, built around a difficult moral dilemma and a scientific mystery that forces the crew to question everything they know. The next, the series suddenly transforms into psychological horror, complete with disturbing imagery and tension that feels closer to a thriller than traditional science fiction. Then it shifts again into detective noir, embraces outrageous comedy, and even experiments with some of the strangest visual concepts the franchise has ever attempted. It's an incredibly bold approach. More importantly, it works, at least on the surface. Visually, Season 4 may be the most impressive Star Trek has ever looked. The production team pushes every department to another level. The practical effects blend seamlessly with CGI. Alien worlds feel more alive than ever, and each episode has its own unique visual identity, instead of looking like another chapter in the same story. That variety keeps every week exciting because viewers never know what's coming next. But here's where the season starts revealing its biggest weakness. The episodes change. The settings change. The genres change. Yet the characters often don't. Instead of allowing each adventure to permanently reshape the crew, many emotional consequences seem to disappear almost as quickly as they're introduced. Characters experience life-changing events one week, only to behave as though nothing significant happened when the next mission begins. Captain Pike is perhaps the clearest example. At the end of Season 3, Pike suffered one of the most heartbreaking losses of the entire series. His relationship with Captain Marie Battelle wasn't just another romance. It represented the future he desperately wanted, but knew fate might never allow him to have. After everything they endured together, Viewers expected that grief to become part of who Pike is moving forward. Instead, Season 4 barely lingers on it. There are brief acknowledgments that Batel's death still hurts, but emotionally, Pike often returns to feeling like the same cheerful captain audiences met years ago. He's compassionate, optimistic, and endlessly supportive, yet much of the emotional weight built over previous seasons fades into the background. That's particularly surprising because Star Trek has handled this kind of storytelling before, and done it exceptionally well. Fans still remember the Next Generation episode The Inner Light, where Captain Picard lived an entire lifetime in another civilization before returning to the Enterprise. That single experience permanently changed him. It influenced his choices, his personality, and even the quieter moments that followed in later episodes. The audience never forgot it, because Picard never forgot it. Season 4 gives Pike experiences that should carry similar emotional consequences, but too often the story seems more interested in introducing the next imaginative adventure than exploring how the previous one transformed its characters. Ironically, that's what makes this season so frustrating. The writers clearly know how to create unforgettable situations. The question is whether they're allowing those situations to truly matter once the credits roll. And nowhere is that more obvious than in the season premiere, a spectacular time travel adventure that delivers dinosaurs, impossible choices, and one shocking moral decision that should have haunted Pike long after the mission ended. Yet by the time the episode is over, the emotional fallout feels surprisingly muted. Because beneath all the spectacle, the biggest mystery of Season 4 isn't what strange new world the Enterprise will visit next. It's why so few of those journeys seem to leave a lasting mark on the people making them, the characters who saved Season 4. And the ones left behind. If there's one reason Season 4 never stops being enjoyable, it's the cast. Even when the writing doesn't always give them enough emotional continuity, these actors consistently elevate every scene they're in. Their chemistry is natural, their performances are believable, and they make the Enterprise feel like a crew you genuinely want to spend time with. Among everyone this season, one character stands out above the rest, Lon Natarajan Singh. For several seasons now, Lon has carried the burden of her family's infamous legacy. Being descended from Khan has never simply been a piece of trivia. It has shaped the way she sees herself and the way she believes others see her. Season 4 wisely continues that struggle instead of pretending it has already been resolved. But this time, the conflict becomes even more personal. Rather than focusing only on her past, the season asks whether she's beginning to fear the person she could become. During one mission, her increasingly aggressive decisions raise uncomfortable questions about how much of her behavior comes from years of trauma and how much stems from the genetic legacy she spent her entire life trying to escape. It's not presented as a simple good versus evil dilemma. Instead, it becomes a psychological battle inside Leanne herself. She wants to protect people, yet she constantly worries that the instincts driving her may eventually control her. Christina Chong delivers those moments with remarkable restraint. Instead of playing Leanne as openly emotional, she lets tiny expressions, pauses, and moments of hesitation reveal everything happening beneath the surface. It's easily one of the strongest performances of the season. Another surprise comes from an unlikely pairing. At first glance, Scotty and Ortegas seem completely incompatible. One is methodical and analytical, while the other thrives on instinct, confidence, and quick decisions. Early interactions between them are filled with sarcasm and frustration, making it seem inevitable that they'll continue clashing throughout the season. Instead, that friction slowly transforms into genuine respect. Without forcing the relationship, the writers gradually reveal how each character brings out strengths in the other. Their banter becomes one of Season 4's most entertaining recurring elements, and by the middle of the season, they're beginning to resemble one of Star Trek's greatest traditions. Two brilliant officers whose completely different personalities somehow create perfect teamwork. Meanwhile, veteran engineer Pelia continues to be one of the show's secret weapons. Carol Kane effortlessly shifts between humor and wisdom, often delivering some of the season's funniest dialogue before quietly reminding everyone that Pelia has lived through centuries of history. Her scenes with Scotty don't just provide comic relief, they subtly prepare him for becoming the legendary engineer fans already know he'll become. Elsewhere, Onachin Riley and Uhura finally receive more meaningful attention after spending much of previous seasons supporting other characters. Their shared mission allows both women to demonstrate leadership, intelligence, and emotional resilience without relying on larger action sequences to make them interesting. But not every storyline reaches the same level. Spock remains one of the show's most compelling characters, largely because Ethan Peck continues to balance Vulcan logic with growing human emotion almost effortlessly. Yet Season 4 still struggles with one recurring issue. Many of Spock's biggest emotional moments happen off-screen, or are referenced after they've already happened. His complicated relationships, particularly his romantic life, often feel like pieces of a story the audience hears about, rather than experiences firsthand. We understand that these events matter, but because we're rarely allowed to witness their emotional impact in real time, they don't resonate as strongly as they could. It's a pattern that appears throughout the season. The emotional destinations are compelling, the performances are excellent, but sometimes the journey between those moments feels surprisingly incomplete. And that's what makes Season 4 so fascinating. It has everything necessary to become one of Star Trek's greatest modern seasons: an outstanding cast, imaginative storytelling, and ambitious ideas. Yet it keeps stopping just short of true greatness, because it rarely allows its characters' emotional lives to evolve as boldly as its science fiction concepts. Part 4. Final Verdict and Conclusion. At the end of the day, Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 4 remains one of the franchise's most entertaining modern series. Its bold genre experiments, outstanding cast, and stunning visuals make every episode worth watching. But despite all that creativity, the show still struggles to let its characters grow in lasting, meaningful ways. If future episodes can finally balance imaginative adventures with deeper emotional storytelling, this could become one of Star Trek's greatest series. What do you think? Is Season 4 the show's strongest season yet, or is it starting to repeat itself? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next Star Trek deep dive. Thanks for watching.